Welcome everyone. I am so glad that you are here for our second installment of Sing with Spirit. Sing with Spirit is a really fundamental component of our Oasis program. Tonight is our second Oasis activation. You can expect to see us somewhere in the gallery for a conversation with a guest that has a spiritual or contemplative practice that we would love to have a conversation with. And tonight we have very special guests who are allowed to introduce themselves. But Sing with Spirit centers a piece of art. It puts that piece of art in dialogue with a guest from our community that has a religious, spiritual, or contemplative practice. And we invite them to share about their practice. We invite them to share about the ways that the art that we are going to highlight connects to their practice. And then the third thing that we do is we invite that guest, that spiritual practitioner, to share ways whether we hold their belief, whether we believe their practice, but to share a value or an aspect of their belief in their practice that we can take with us. And I know we are in the museum, and I know it's usually quiet, but I would ask you to join me in giving a round of applause for our guest tonight. Can you join us in singing prayer? So, if I can get you to stay for another line. We're going to have two conversations tonight. So we're going to have a conversation now at 7, and we're going to rejoin in front of this same piece, and we're going to have another conversation from a person that shares the same practice. But first, we're going to have the conversation with Tenzin, who will introduce himself, and then we'll come back and we'll have a second conversation. But I'd like, if you can, now if both of y'all would just introduce yourself. And the first question if you both introduce yourself, then I'll start with the question.
So hello everyone. My name is Tenzin Rabga, and I've been a Buddhist monk, Tibetan Buddhist monk, like 20 years, since last 20 years. So I've been studying Tibetan Buddhism in South India. So what more should I say?
Well, I'll ask you a couple questions. But
Okay.
I'd love to have you introduce
Well, why
yourself.
don't you talk about the Emery Tibet
Oh
thing?
yeah, sure. And then I've been studying in South India in a Tibetan monastery where like around 2,000 monks there are, for 20 years. And then in the monastery now we have been starting to integrate modern science into our Tibetan Buddhist studies as well. So for that, we came here to study science at Emory for 2 years under the program called Emory Tibet Science Initiative. So for that, we are the 6th group. So there have already been 5 groups before, and then another group will come the next semester.
Tashidelek. So Tashidelek is like Tibetan. It means hi to everyone. My name is Kalsang, and I'm a Tibetan Buddhist nun. I live in India, same as him, but I live in a northern part of India. And I was born there, and my parents are from Tibet. Yeah, and I've also been studying for more than 20 years, and I'm already graduated from the Buddhist studies. Yeah, and I'm also same as him, like studying here science. Yeah, nice meeting you all.
Thanks. So we will have our conversation with Tenzin now, and again at 8:15, we'll welcome you back and have a conversation. So if you aren't in a yoga session and you want to hear another perspective or an angle on this piece, I invite you up. The piece that we'll center our conversation around is by Joseph Stella. This exhibit, and the special exhibit that we have is by Joseph Stella. And this piece is called Tree of My Life. The first question, Tenzin, if you could join me at the front. The first question I want to ask you is if you'd share a bit about your practice. What is it, and what are some central aspects of your spiritual practice that you'd like to share with the group?
That's a really interesting question. Thank you. Can you hear? Because I can also start up my volume. So okay, great. So in the monastery or in my practice, in a Tibetan Buddhist practice, if I put all together, like conclude, put all together, we have the two main ideas, two main points. And one is we talk about method, and then another one is we talk about wisdom. So these two are the main points of Tibetan Buddhism. So when we talk about method, what we say is like our intention or our mindset of when we are doing something. And when we talk about wisdom, we are talking about how do we do that. So without one, it doesn't work, right? For example, let's just imagine we are walking on a road, on a sidewalk, and then we see a very sick dog lying down there, right? Just imagine that. And then even if you are the most accomplished veterinarian in the world, if you don't have the kind-heartedness or the love or the method, what we use, the term we use as tough, if you don't have this intention or this mindset, then you won't have that job, right? Even if you have the wisdom. But on the other hand, if you are the most kind-hearted person in the world and you see this dog, you have so much kind, you wanted to help the dog a lot. But then if you don't know how to do that, then that doesn't help the dog as well. So these two are the most important things, like the intention and the method of how to do that. So for the last 20 years in the monastery, we have been studying these 2 points on like different aspects or like different ways of doing that. So that's the main thing that we have been studying, I've been studying.
Thank you so much. So we learned about 2 major components of your practice:
yes.
intention,
Method and wisdom.
Method and wisdom.
Yes.
And we're standing in front of this piece. We've had a chance to look at it and talk a little bit. But I'd love for us to continue the conversation that we started a couple weeks ago and offer the audience insight into, for you, the ways that this piece of art in any way connects to your practice.
Yes. So as I was saying about the method and the wisdom, just if we continue with this conversation, the most important or the most ultimate or the core belief of our method topic is the compassion, the kind-heartedness, the intention. And that comes to me, comes from the image of painting of this lotus. The reason is that if we look at the lotus doesn't
Can you
grow.
point it out first so people see?
You can see the lotus around here, right? So if we look, it's same as in this image and same as in the real world, that lotus doesn't grow in a very clean environment, right? Lotus always grow in some places where it is like dirt, like they are muddy, something like that. Similarly, at the ground, it is not very, it may not appear very clean or something like that. But despite that environment, despite this conflicting, disruptive environment, when it grows, it isn't like affected by all this negative environment. So that is why when we talk about compassion, we talk about the compassion without expecting anything in return. Because if we are expecting something in return, that is not exactly compassion. If I use, I don't know whether it is a correct analogy or not, but for me it seems like we are buying and selling something. It looks more like a business, right? I am giving you compassion and in return I am expecting something as well. And if I don't get that expectation, if someone else who don't fulfill this expectation, then I will get angry. Right? So if I am doing this compassion without expecting anything in return, then it would be a true lotus. So that's what I think about when we talk about a compassion. And then another one is the method one, so the wisdom one, and then the how, the topic of how we do that. And then the core topic is about the concept of interdependence. So when we talk about interdependence, like in this image, the main thing that we can see here is the tree. Right? So first, when I first came here, when I looked at the tree, I saw an individual story of a tree. So that this is just a story of one tree. Just imagine how many trees there are and how many stories we can see from that tree's perspective. So because of this tree existing here, we can see so many insects here and so many animals here and so many other trees growing out because of this tree. It gives shade and it gives its fruit. So because of that, other animals come. So now imagine if something happens to the tree. If someone comes and cuts the tree, what would the surrounding environment would be, right? So so that is why when I'm talking about interdependence, we can all imagine, or just imagine that, just think about the clothes that you are wearing, and imagine how many people are included, how many people are involved in making this clothes that you are wearing right now. So even if you are a very successful person, even if you are the richest person in the world, you are still dependent on another one. Just go to a grocery store. It's not just because you have some money, but all the foods they are here because of some other people, right? So we are all dependent on another person, another people. It doesn't matter if people or animals, plants. We are dependent on our environment, right? So the environment itself is a symbiotic. So that is why when you talk about interdependence, for me we talk about humility and it decreases our arrogance, how much successful we are. So this tree teaches me about the intention of humility.
One of the things I love about Sing with Spirit and in hearing what you had to say, and in having guests talk about their interpretation of work, is that when Joseph Stella created this piece, or any piece that we stand in front of, it may or may not be the artist's intention, or this may not be the understanding that they had when they created the piece. But the power of standing in front of a piece of work with someone, in this case that has a spiritual practice, and them inviting us to look at it through their lens, it just allows us to be able to add to the layers of meaning, and to be able to be in a process of kind of shared learning. And so the last question that I wanted to ask, and it would be for you to offer our audience, regardless of who they are, where they come from, regardless of what their belief is, what are some aspects or components that and you kind of shared this a little bit already, but some things that you've learned from this piece or from your practice that will be valuable for anyone to take away, regardless of who they are and regardless of what walk of life they come from?
So for me, from here, the most, not just the tree, another very exciting and very heartwarming lesson we can learn from here is a lotus blooming here, and then we can see another a lotus coming here. Instead of just us seeing it as a different image, just see it as a moving image of one lotus, just lotus growing, and then it is coming up, and then also blooming, and then ultimately it is shining to everything. So for me, my message or my request would be a lotus. Our world has never been completely utopian. Since thousands of years ago, just recall all those people you think of as the most compassionate, as the greatest being ever lived in this world. Every person has been criticized. Every person has been facing many different challenges from their environment. But despite that, they are growing up, right? So that is what lotus symbolizes. So for me, my message would be a lotus, and don't get affected by the environment that is not very good. But the best thing is what you can do is you can change your own emotion. You can control your emotion and just be a better person.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Quite efficient, amazing with our comments. And the front end, we've left a good amount of time. Thank you so much for people to be able to offer reflections or questions. And I invite you to do so. We'll take a couple minutes. If there's anything that you want to share back that you heard or learned, or if there's a question that you'd like to direct, I would say for either of our guests tonight, we have some time to do something. And I would appreciate if you would introduce yourself. We're among a lot of friends in this space, and if you ask a question, I would invite you to introduce yourself to our audience and to our guests.
Okay. Hi, I'm Scott. I appreciate art sometimes. I don't know. So one of the things that struck me about Stella's paintings in the 15 minutes I've been looking at them is that all of his paintings seem to have a juxtaposition between like yay nature and Stella's very not-simple feelings about not liking New York. In those paintings that are more, like the dark, I don't like the city paintings, do you still see compassion, or do you still see like a kind of lotus in them, or are they devoid of that?
For me, I see lotus,
Yep.
the most like protruding
Yep.
when it is most like when someone doesn't like the place the most.
Mm.
Because like lotus doesn't grow in a completely clear environment.
Yeah.
So as the environment is not that good or productive, that's where the lotus or if you don't think about lotus, you can think of any other living organisms that is growing from there. It need not be a flower. It can be anything that's living.
Okay.
So those living organisms or the lotus in this sense grows despite all those things.
Mm.
So if you are living in sense, if, let's say you someone don't like New York,
Yeah.
but still we can just despite that we can just also
It's full of life.
yes, it's growing.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stella, thanks for the question, Scott. Yes, and if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. My name is Samantha. I'm actually an art history PhD student. I wanted to ask, this is a very utopian scene, as you said. Utopia has never existed. So I was wondering, in your tradition, do you believe that there can be a utopia, or that's something that we're working towards, or is possible to achieve?
For this, I would like to give two answers. One is what the classical tradition would answer, and what me as a personal perspective I can answer, right? Because if I just give my personal opinion, it might seem like this might be what our tradition actually believes. So I would like to give the two different answers. So the first one is about the traditional, like the classical answer, is that there is a utopian land, but it is not what we can like. It's not that we will go to a land like a physical land. It is a land where when you are free from all the sufferings, then that's when you get to that land. So, but my personal opinion would be, instead of thinking whether there is a utopian land or not, like an external utopian land or not, how about if we think whether we can make our inner universe a utopian land or not? Because this reminds me of one text that I've been studying. So in that text, it's used the analogy of
Sorry, Tenzin, I'm so
sorry. In that text, we use the analogy of leather. So the question is whether you want. So your goal is to let your feet touch a leather everywhere you step. So there are two options. One is to lay down leather all over the place, right? And then the another one is just wear a leather shoe. So what would you do? Like, which one is more easier? So instead of making a utopian external goal and fighting for that, how about making our own inner universe a utopian land? And that is possible.
My name is Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
Nice to meet you all. My question is, where do you think we all should start heading toward that goal?
Can I ask you a question back?
Yes.
So in this world, like this is the result that we can see, right? And this result is, for us, when we see this result, it's so beautiful. But when the painter started painting it, how do you think he studied it?
He about to go deep on you, John. Get ready now.
Yes, maybe just one stroke, right? One stroke. And then after this one stroke, he got another idea, and he added on that. And as he was painting and painting, he's getting more and more idea. So my view would be be, my probable answer would be, just how about just start from yourself. That's because we have a saying, I don't know whether it is the same saying or not, but in our saying in Tibetan, we have a saying that if you point at another one, you are pointing your fingers to yourself. So when we just look at social media or anything, it's always pointing at another one, right? And when someone else asks you this same question, we get defensive. So how about just starting from yourself? And then instead of saying we can do this, how about just showing it, and then the other person might be, oh well, he seems very interesting. The way he does is very good, and I can see his shine. I can see his ray shining on me. Maybe I will ask him how he did it. And then you can say, yeah, this is how I did. And that's how we can expand our community. Instead of saying, no, what he is doing is wrong, this is my method is correct. That doesn't work, right? Just show your product and then they will buy it.
Bars.
Hello, my name is Patrick. I'm a counseling student at Mercer. I want to make a comment on one thing you said on the lotus idea. So you said that the lotus is a great flower because it grows in murky areas, and we can mirror that in our own lives by, despite our own suffering, despite the life that we have and whatever's going on around us, we can still be that lotus and grow upwards. That seems to be an idea that is running in many different spiritual practices, like a meta idea. It reminded me of the Christian idea that you should bear your own cross. Like, yeah, you're going to suffer, you're going to have a hard life, but you should still sit upright and do the right thing despite of that. So I just wanted to make that comment because it came to my mind as I was listening to you.
What do you think about it?
So my thought about it is, one thing, for me as a religion, as a person with a religious background, there may be also many people here with a very highly religious mindset. But one thing that I don't know whether it will be correct thing to say or not, but see, one thing that I always feel about is, when we talk about religion, we are always talking about faith. Right? But then, I don't know whether it actually should be like faith. For like in our practice, we have two different kinds of faith. One is blind faith, and one is faith based on reasoning. If you have a blind faith, then okay, right now you have a very strong faith, but then if you see something that disputes that, then your faith will completely go down. If you have a faith based on your own reasoning, even if you see something that is not, that may not be correct, then because of your reasoning, which is based on your own idea, it may be strong. So what I am saying is about your comment that in our text, my comment on be a lotus is just trying to share you the opinion, but then there's also many different methods on how to be a lotus, right? And I can just give you one example, and it's about patience, because when there are lots of other problems going on, we become irritated, we become angry, right? And then the most important thing we are lacking is patience. So there's one example that I can use, which I normally use to lots of people. And if just let me, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so suppose I have a stick, right? And I hit you on your head with a stick. I won't, but suppose. And then, would you get angry to the stick or would you get angry to me?
I get angry at you.
But then none of my body part hit you. The thing that hurt you, the thing that injured your head is the stick. Then why are you getting angry on me and not the stick?
Because you use the stick as a weapon to assault me.
Yes, would anyone say the same answer? Yes. Right? So similarly, that's a similar case. Nobody in the world is angry 24 hours, right? 24/7, nobody gets angry like that. So the thing is, when someone gets angry, when someone does a very bad action, that person is also a victim of his negative emotion. So when I hit him, suppose I hit him with my face now this time, with my hand. The thing is, I hit him because I'm angry. So this anger is acting as the puppeteer and I'm the puppet. So So if I don't have this anger, then I won't hate him, right? So why are you not getting angry on that person's negative emotion, but instead getting angry on that person who himself is just just being dragged down by his emotions. So when you get angry to that negative emotion, how the thing that you would do is you would compare that negative emotion. So how would you compare that person's negative emotion is to by being compassionate, by trying to calm him down. That's the thing. If you comes down, then the negative emotion would go away. And that's how we say, okay, you are the culprit, just go away. I've nothing to do with you. I'm going to help with that person. So that's just an example that I use from one of the texts.
This has been a very special moment that we shared. I thank you so much for being with us. I thank you for your wisdom and for your intention. I thank you all for being here. This has been Sing with Spirit. It is a fundamental component of Oasis. We meet the second Friday of each month. We have a different guest with us, and we'll talk about a different piece of art. Tonight, we have been with Tenzin, who is joining us as a part of the Emory Tibet Initiative. And we are so grateful to have you here. We will have another talk in front of the same piece of artwork again. And we didn't get to hear as much from you, but it makes perfect sense. We will hear from you fully at 8:15. If you would like to join us again for a different perspective about this piece of work, I invite you to join us. Thank you all so much for being here. That was so good. That was another round of applause would be better. So, if you could tell us a bit about who you are and anything that you'd like to share about your faith, spiritual, or contemplative practice. We are very interested to know.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm just telling to you again. I'm not sure the participants are same or not, but
How many of you were here for the first conversation? A couple repeat.
okay, so I'll explain like what is Tashdele. Tashdele literally means hi. It's a Tibetan language. And my name is Kalsang. My full name is Kalsang Lhamo. And I'm a Tibetan Buddhist nun. Right now I'm in Elanda learning science at in the Emory Tibet Science Initiative. It's a one program. And we have it's a 3-year course. I'm a little nervous, okay, sorry, because I've never talked, I won't say never, but yeah, I've talked among the people, but in a Tibetan language, so it's really hard to talk in English, especially because it's my second language or maybe third language. Yeah, and I've been studying Buddhism for almost 20 years, and what my belief is like, I've always believed in love, loving people, showing kindness, regardless of anger is within us. I have an anger issue before. I have a lot of anger. My friends know me very clearly, but one thing they know about me is my anger is like this. It goes and it comes, and it goes. It's very like this. So they know me very well. But one thing I learned from that anger is like, if you show anger, it's good to apologize. That's what I believe. It's good to apologize regardless of whatever ego I have. It's good to, show to that person like how sorry you are. It's good to just take initiative of, going in front of that person and reflecting on yourself like, I've done this, I'm sorry. It's because of the anger that, I've done this. So that's what I believe. And the love is like, I've loved so many people in my family especially. So I love my parents a lot, and I treat them very dearly, and pointing that example, I'm showing it to also to other people. I'm trying it, at least that's the best we all can do. we all love our families, we all love our parents. So taking that as a love, we can show the kindness towards every sentient beings. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you so much. In talking about forgiveness, in talking about anger, in talking about love, those are core components of who you are and of your practice. We're standing in front of this piece of art and it has so many different things in it. And so the second question that I'd like to ask is, if you can offer us thoughts about Tibetan Buddhism or your faith and your practice, and what about this piece what about this piece invites you to reflect on that? What about this piece makes you think about different aspects of your spiritual belief?
Yeah. For this art, when I first saw the picture, it doesn't give me anything, truly speaking, right? Because I have zero knowledge in art, that's why I can truly speak. But
She tells the truth. It's another beautiful facet of
and thank God, Carlton took us here and show us the main art. That's the best thing, it's very kind of you. Thank you. Because after coming here, I got to know, I can very clearly see the pictures. And from this, what I've noticed is I'm seeing a lot of different species. No, not all species. It's like a very bird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are many different kinds of birds living, even though they are living in a very different, I won't say living, but some are here, and the painter has drawn some here and as well here. So from this aspect, what I am taking is we all are different people. I'm also seeing lots of different faces, different culture, different, I don't know whether I can say it or not, different colors. I can say it, right?
Yes, you can.
So yeah, that is the beauty of the tree of life itself. So these are they all have different colors, but they are living in a very one big picture. And what I'm seeing is they have this potential of living together. So we all have a potential of living together. That's the oneness, and I'm seeing the humanity. I'm seeing the the love that which is bounding them all. So yeah, this is the aspect that I've got from this painting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask one other question, and it seems like we're going to have a lot of time for us really just to ask questions and engage with Kalsang herself. And Tenzin, you are at the end when we ask questions, you are certainly invited to join us to answer. But the last question is, you talked about your practice, you talked about this piece, and as you said, each of us have our own different identity, our own beliefs, our own color.
Yes.
We can say that.
Yes.
But what would you like to offer us to take away, whether from this painting or from your experience or from your practice, that we can all, something that we can all take with us as we go?
Yeah. I would strongly suggest you all to take, as a request is to take a kind and compassionate, a good human being. We are, even though we feel like we are independent, we are one, but because of we are one, many things are bound to us. It's not only you, right? So what I strongly suggest is because of you, it's like a domino. Domino. The small plate. If you click it, everything goes, right? All your efforts so yeah, it's same as this one. So if you are being good to every person, it's just that you have to take this little bit initiative, then every signal will come at you, and we will have a lot of good tree of life here. Yeah.
Join me again. Thank you, Kalsang. And I would love, if you all have any questions, thoughts, reflections, share them. I'll move out of the way, and Tenzin and Kalsang would love to answer any of your questions or share any thoughts. So we'll take, was that a hand here, and then we'll come here.
Was this like your first time coming to the States, or?
Yes, this time is my first time in coming out of India.
Really?
Yes.
So what was the biggest shock?
Sorry,
What was the most shocking thing when you came?
most shocking thing? Cars. There are so many cars. I'm so shocked. Literally, you know, every person in a one family has a car. That's the most shocking one. In India, it's not like, you know, we don't have cars. We do have cars, but I won't say like all India, on behalf of all India, but where I came from is a village. So every person doesn't have a car. And we have a lot of sports for like bicycle or auto rickshaw. It's a, what do you call it?
Here people call it tuk-tuk or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, something like this.
Yes.
Mine more is an interpretation of the painting that you see the circle at the top in blue. How would you interpret that?
I love that from both of you too.
To me, that gives that painting a really spiritual feel.
So I think to those who are here before, in the first session, might know what my answer might be, but to those who are new, in the second session, my interpretation of this is, from here we see one lotus, and then it's instead of seeing different lotus, I would interpret it as a single lotus growing up, blooming. So despite all those obstacles, because at the end, because of the shadows and other plants that are fighting for their nutrients, it is very difficult, right? It's very difficult to fight with other plants for its own survival. There are also many other insects that try to eat it. So despite all those difficulties, challenges, it's still struggling to grow up. And then when it grows up, it finally grows. Right? So what we see is, as you have mentioned before, as you have observed, what we see is this beautiful result. But we don't see, but most of the time we don't see the struggle. That's what we see in everyone, right? We see when we look at like video, picture, movie, like high successful people, we only see the success, and then we get like jealous. And then most of the time when we get jealous, most of the time we are just lying on our bed, right? And then we are saying, he's not good, he's bad, something like that. But we haven't seen the struggle. It is mostly behind the curtains. So this old beauty came from one single entirety which has struggled from all those other challenges. This is what I would say. See.
Maybe spiritual elevation.
Yes, spiritual evaluation. You can see it as anything you wish, like your own goals, anything. It can be spirituality for some individual. It can be like own success, like financial success for someone else. It can be any success, but it all comes from your own struggle.
Yeah, to add a little more on this, I would say, it is a lotus, but there's also one giant tree behind it, right? And because of that tree, it is helping it a lot, mounting it and letting it have a fruitful, beautiful flower. So I would say, like I mentioned earlier about the independent and dependent, we all feel like we are so independent. We have done lots of things. I've achieved so many things, but it's not like that. So because, as an example, because of this and because of the tree and the lotus, they both are like connecting, and because of correlation and support, yes, yeah, you can see such a nice fruit. Yeah.
I think I saw Anna. Here we'll go.
Yeah,
Evelyn here. We'll take this hand here, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I was going to ask a similar question, so it was basically the same question, but I didn't ask it. But thank you for your perspective. I really enjoyed it.
I should have done this. I did this in the last session. Both for our guests and for our audience. If you could introduce yourself and then ask your question. I appreciate you.
Sure. My name is Evelyn.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Sherry.
I'm LaShawn.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm Elena. And I heard about the Tibetan tree of life. Is that part of your belief system? And if so, how is that like similar or different with maybe what you see in the painting?
Tibetan tree of life?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has
Like
to
what
do
does it look like?
I don't know whether it's a tree of life, but we have this concept called wheel of life.
Oh.
Yeah, we look like this.
Because we have the wheel of life because as a Tibetan Buddhist, we believe about life after death. And then this cycle has been divided, has been categorized into 12 different time periods chronologically. So this is one aspect. But for me, the biggest thing that I would take from that wheel of life is if you maybe in a Google if you search say a wheel of life Tibetan Buddhism, you will see a wheel being held by some angry demon or something like that, which I don't know which for me is not necessary at all. But what is important is in the middle there is an image of three animals, and the three animals are pig, a bird, and a snake. Yes, and the snake symbolizes anger or hatred, and the bird symbolizes attachment, and then the pig symbolizes ignorance. I don't know why, because pigs are very intelligent, right? But they I don't know what the reason is, but then they use pig as a symbol. So in the image, so these three things are what we regard as the three main poisons of every other problem that arise from that. And in the image, it is very important, it's very beautifully depicted that the snake and the bird are coming out from the pig's mouth. What it simply means is the anger or the attachment are all coming out from ignorance. And the ignorance is the main cause of the problems. If we look at if we use it as a movie analogy, that ignorance is the main villain. So now for me, I have also lots of experience, but each of you can relate to your own stories that we have done something. Then after doing that, we realize, I should have thought more carefully. So there are many things that we have done which came out of ignorance. And there are also now we see many in news and in social media, we see so many cropped videos and things like that. And then we just looking at that video, we just make some decisions and make our own decisions. So instead of just calming down and then looking at the whole picture. That has happened for many years, right? So instead of doing that, how about we just calm down, look at the bigger perspective, and instead of falling in the trap of ignorance, I think it is better to study it more and be open-minded. So from the wheel of life, I would take this lesson for me.
Hello, I'm Sabina. I've had the fortune of being able to travel in my life, and I'm always enamored by cultures and how different people are guided by their culture. So I want to know what in your culture kind of propels or guides you spiritually. Tell us about your culture that speaks to your spirituality.
In the Tibetan culture, from the very young child to the grown up, we have always been taught to be kind to each other. That's the one big sentence that ever since it came, it's in my mind, and that's what our elders taught us. So yeah, I think this is the one big tradition that be kind to each other, be compassionate to each other, don't hurt other people. It's not only a people. Don't hurt insects. Even you can't. We don't have such a thing like if you see mosquitoes, we don't do like this. I've seen many people doing it. So we don't have such a thing. It's not like I don't know where it came from, but ever since I was born, I've been taught like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one very important culture in our Tibetan culture. about being compassionate to all living beings, irrespective of who they are. And when we see someone being sick or someone injured or someone like, even if we see an insect without one piece of leg, we would not use the term inje. Inje means I pity that. I want to help it. So this is the word that is normally come out from our mouth. And from my experience, like that which I think may be helpful to people in the United States is that from what I noticed, of staying here for the last 2 years, is that people tend to be very emotional on any problems that they face, and they tend to take. If let's put a level. Let's say we have a level, and if the mental suffering is actually at level 4. We tend to put it out and then put it at level 9 or 10, something like that, magnify that. So in our culture, we say if you're sick or if something bad, very bad has happened to your family, to yourself, you will say, oh yeah, it is bad, but then it is our past karma. We say it is le means karma, which means yeah, it is the result of our past action. If we have done something bad, its result will have to come to us. Then we have to face it, whether we like it or not. So if the problem is at level 4, most probably it will remain at level 4 and not go out on level 8 or 9, something like that. So normally our way of facing challenge, what I saw is not enlarged, like not magnified as it's magnified here. So that's one thing that I think is very unique to our culture compared to the American culture.
If we have time at the end, I'll come back to you because you were able to ask a question in the first session. I'm gonna save this spot for someone. Yes.
Hi, I'm Catherine. My question is, what, I guess, maybe moments or thoughts kind of led you to be in this journey and this lifestyle as a monk or not?
As for me, I've been questioned this question many times, especially from the foreigners. Maybe the first question came when I was like 13, maybe 14 or 15 years old. And I became a nun when I was 13 years old. So I was quite young. I don't know about here, but in here, people are very good in, I don't know. So let's keep that. So yeah, when I was very young, and I don't have such a big ambition of becoming a nun, but I've seen my uncles. I've seen their lifestyle. I have 5 uncles. They are all monks, and they used to come at my home. I didn't know that back then when I was very young. They just come at my home and chill out. They do nothing. I didn't know that they were on vacation. But yeah, I got it after many years, and I like their lifestyle. And they used to teach me teach me how to read Tibetan scriptures. If you read Tibetan scriptures or any scriptures, even it's English or a science or anything, you just can't read. You have to read while taking the meaning to your, applying it on yourself. So they have been teaching, when I was quite young. So I like them, and because of them, I'm here now. And on first day, when I became a nun, and I was told you have to study this, you have to study that. There are so many subjects to follow. I didn't know that. Because I've seen them, only in the vacation time. And I regret it very little while, but then while now I'm at 32, so I realized that it's not a bad choice. It's not a bad choice at all, becoming a nun. You all can become a nun. Just kidding.
Okay, so for my journey, it's been fluctuating in a sense. Because when I was young, as long as I remember, my parents would say that when I was very young, I would always say, I want to become a monk, something like that. But I don't remember that. Maybe they are trying to, force me into that. But then, because I studied in a Tibetan school, there's called this Tibetan Children Village School. It's a Tibetan school where From 7th grade, we are being taught a little bit of Buddhist philosophy, but then it is not like a detailed explanation, but just a few points here and there. And for me, that wasn't enough because when I was in school, it's solely from an academic point of view. I wanted to know more about that. Like, few points thrown away is not enough to know the whole picture. So I wanted to study more about that. So that's when I became more serious about studying Buddhist philosophy. So then after completing my 10th grade, it might be a funny story because I wanted to go to join the monastery as soon as possible, but my parents wanted me to complete at least the 12th grade. So, and then because they know that like monk's life is not easy. So if I felt like it's not easy, I wanted to leave monk's life, then I will have another route where I can go to college. And I wanted to go from 5th or 6th grade. 8th grade, I wanted to leave the school and join the monastery. So my argument was I wanted to leave after completing my 8th grade. My parents said, at least complete 12. So we had a discussion, and we had a common agreement on. They reduced 2 years. I added 2 years, and I went to school, went to the monastery after completing 10th grade. So when I joined the monastery, initially it was hard because it's very different life and different lifestyle. But first few years was hard, and I had to debate a lot because in our monastery the way we study is debating, and each day we have to debate for 6 hours. So that's very a lot, right? And for the first few years it's very hard, but then it's like this picture. It's a struggle, but then when I've passed the first barricade of that struggle, it becomes more and more easier. And then after coming here, for me it is another new journey, because till the last 20 years in my study of Buddhist philosophy, for me I felt like I've been studying more solely on an academic point of view, but not on a personal growth point of view. Even though in the Buddhist community, I've been living in the Buddhist community, maybe it's because of the community or culture as a whole that our mentality is like that. But now I feel like, okay, maybe if I put this, how about I put this in this perspective, like that. So it's been going on like that. It's still a continuing journey. Maybe I'm around here.
This will be the last question. We're at time.
Okay, so my name is Rose Lees, and I'm just trying to understand the journey of, a Buddhist monk or nun. So, you're here, if I understood, you're studying science, and I just wonder how that relates to Buddhism, how that relates to the journey spiritually, or...
Yeah, one thing, I know nothing about science before I came here. We do have a prepared exam before coming here, and it was, I think, around 2 weeks that I've studied a lot about science, and then I got into the, we are actually 3 nuns, and I'm the chosen, right? And among that, after coming here and learning science way more deeper, I would say, even though we are studying basic science like biology, neurology, and psychology and physics, but it's the way it is applying to me, the way it is showing me what is science is. Science to me is searching for the truth. That's what I thought, and Buddhism is also same as that. And I'm seeing these two as a same motive behind it, because Buddhism is also as a part of searching for truth, and the motive behind is being for the sake of human beings, to have a good environment for the beings, to have a better environment. So science is, I believe, is same as that. They are searching for so many things so that they can get to the point, they can come to the point where it ends, and they can learn this is good to have a good human beings. When we I think about the diet that you maybe you all guys do. I don't know, but I don't do. But the diet, like the food itself, there are so many products that which has been developed by science itself, and some are very good, right? Some are very beneficial for health, and it is also one way of seeking, it's helping us. It's helping the humanity. It's helping us to survive. So it's same as like Buddhism. Buddhism through the religious belief, or whether it's like a beyond religion thing, we all have to be good. We all have to love each other so that we can have a peaceful life, right? If you want to be a peaceful life, you have to give something back. That's the way I think we will be in a good and harmony environment. Yeah, that's what I learned.
I think that is a wonderful note to end on. If you could join me one more time in giving a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. This is our second installment of Oasis. We will return on the second Friday of next month. We will be joined by a different practitioner of a different faith or contemplative practice, and we'll be talking in front of another piece of art. And I'm just grateful that you all were here and were able to join us. Thank you all so much. And